Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Bison Basketball Show from the Sanford Power Center in Fargo. Both the North Dakota State men's and women's basketball teams embarked on one of their toughest and longest road trips of the season, starting with rival South Dakota State before hitting the road to Oklahoma to take on Oral Roberts. The Bison men looking for their first win in Brookings since December of 2016, but will be playing from behind after a 16-3 Jackrabbit run. Rocky Cruiser would hit a long three to cut into the deficit, his only basket of the game. NDSU only 5 offensive rebounds as well, one of them from Dengu, as he follows up the miss with the big jam. He added 12 points and 5 rebounds off the bench. Cameron Hunter was the only NDSU player to shoot it well from the outside. He was 3 of 5 from outside the arc and chipped in with 11 points. North Dakota State got 36 points off the bench in the game overall. SDSU would close the half on an 11-2 run to build a 19-point halftime lead. Summit League Player of the Year Mike Daum scored a game-high 30 points and added 17 rebounds, hitting 11 of 15 shots from the floor. Tyson Ward also had a double-double, scoring 18 points and grabbing 12 boards. The putback cuts into the lead as NDSU played even with the Jacks in the second half. Tyree Eady was 3 of 5 from the field as well, scoring 7 points, including this 3. The Bison shooting 48% in the second half to keep pace, but would not get any closer than 16 points as South Dakota State continued to roll. David Jenkins poured in 25, including this basket and foul with just over 6 minutes to go. SDSU shot 54% overall to win it 87-69. North Dakota State forced 9 steals but had 19 turnovers to drop to 3-4 in league play. 2 days later, the Bison headed to Tulsa, Oklahoma for a meeting with Oral Roberts as both teams struggled offensively in the first half. Vinny Shaheed had the hot hand for NDSU from long range. He drops in the corner 3 to cut the ORU lead to a pair. The two teams combined to shoot just 6 of 30 from three-point range in the first half, but Tyson Ward's deep pull-up would give the Bison a lead. Kevin O'Banner was tough to handle inside for the Golden Eagles. He scored a team-high 21 points, and it was a 3-point game after the first 20 minutes. Things remained tight in the second half. Oral Roberts going on a 16-3 run to grab a 5-point lead. Kerwin Smith, the offensive rebound and putback, but NDSU would rally behind the hot shooting of Shaheed. He was a perfect 4 of 4 from outside the arc. With just over 3 minutes to go and the shot clock winding down, Rocky Cruiser comes up with the big basket, throwing the deep hook shot up to extend the lead to 7. Next possession, Shaheed again answering the bell with another big triple from the top of the key. He scored a game-high 23 points and had no turnovers. With just under a minute to go, the Bison running the shot clock down, and again it's Cruiser hitting the clutch jumper. He scored 9 of his 11 points in the second half. Moments later, NDSU puts the game away as Tyson Ward forces the ORU turnover. Cameron Hunter picking up the loose ball and throwing it down for the big jam plus the foul, and the Bison pick up their first road win of the season, 67-57, outscoring the Golden Eagles 15-5 to end the game and evening up their conference record at 4-4. Stay with us here on the Bison Basketball Show as we sit down with NDSU men's coach Dave Richman to talk about the last road trip and take a look ahead.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by Nodak Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to the Bison Basketball Show here from Sanford Power in South Fargo. NDSU men's basketball coach Dave Richman joining us here on location. The Bison men, one of the longest road trips of the conference schedule, having to start out of South Dakota State, then go to Oral Roberts. That in itself presents some challenges, but I guess your guys have to get used to it because this pretty much this whole stretch of 3 weeks you're on the road.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we try to do in the non-conference season, Brian, is put our guys in some similar situations. And as tough as that travel was on Friday, a long day where we really weren't able to practice or do anything, we did maybe a light walkthrough at the hotel. You go back to our trip from Tennessee all the way out to Spokane, and it was a little easier than that one too. And so I credit our guys for handling that and not making excuses. And that's part of winning on the road, is handling that adversity, handling some different circumstances that are out of your control.
You had the big emotional win at home over North Dakota, tight game. a lot of fans. You could feel, the adrenaline rushing, and then all of a sudden you got to flip the switch back on going on the road at South Dakota State, a team that's picked to win the league. How did you handle that with your guys, with a young group? Because that's the first time they've really had to try to get up for 2 huge games, so to speak.
And I thought, to be honest with you, Brian, I thought we did a good job of handling it during the week. I still think that was I think and hope and anticipate that was that last step for our guys. I think you get into, again, let's just call it what it is, the class of the league in Brookings and South Dakota State, and they were rested, they were prepared, they were playing with great energy and emotion, and it caught some of our young guys off guard a little bit. There's no question about it. And for me, I'm going to chalk that up as that last experience that this group needed to go through. And then build off of that, because again, we handled some things with a different edge on Saturday and responded very well to some frustrating things on Thursday night.
I know the one thing that, Dave, you've been trying to work with these guys consistently is defense, but also not letting our offense affect our defense. And I think you saw that step as well against Oral Roberts, where, the ball was not going into the basket a lot in the first half, but you still held them to just 24 first half points and gave your guys a good chance in the second half to close that one out.
Yeah, it never really was about necessarily just the ball going in the hole. It was, we chart catastrophic turnovers, Brian. So we turn it over and it leads directly to points for the opponent. Or if you take a bad shot, you miss a layup. We had 3 cases in the first 10 minutes of the South Dakota State game where we missed a layup and they turned around and hit a 3 in the next that next possession for them within the first 10 seconds. And it seems in a box score those are 9-point swings. In reality those are 15-point swings. And so it's a product of everything. And I've always said it, especially it makes so much sense in basketball, right? Your offense affects your defense, but also your defense affects your offense. And as much as we were getting stops and then that was helping our offense, it was vice versa. We were playing better offense and that was helping our defense.
Your guys were almost in the same position they were in at Denver a couple of weeks ago. Tight game, 8 minutes to go, can go either way. It didn't go your way in Denver, but it totally went your way against Oral Roberts. You closed that game on a 15-5 run. You hit some huge shots with the shot clock winding down. You guys really executed well on both ends down the stretch in that game. Yeah,
and I'll take you back even earlier in that second half, and it was about the first media timeout when we had gapped it to 8, and then they made an 8-0 run to tie the game. And I said to the guys, it's a tie game. It's the same situation we were in Denver, a couple weeks ago. How are we going to handle it? How are we going to respond? And they just settled in. There wasn't any panic in their eyes. It was like, oh yeah, we've been here, we've done it. Now how are we going to be better? How are we going to learn from our past experiences? And it was just kind of a blow for blow for a while there. And then we hung around and made some big plays down the stretch in that last 2.5, 3 minutes.
And Vinny Shaheed get some shots to go into the basket. I feel good for that young man to have that opportunity to hit some shots in this zone and to see the ball go in the hole and hopefully build his confidence here moving forward in the last half of the season as well.
Yeah, again, talking about chalking it up to another experience. I think we saw Vinny playing some great basketball right before the Christmas break. And you go through and you get into the league schedule when you're better prepared against. The opponent has a great scouting report on you, and you're settling into a different routine. And it took Vinny a little bit longer than he wanted, than probably would we want, but that's fine. Everything we need to do and want to do is still ahead of us, and for him to see the ball go in the hole and build some confidence is great for all of us, particularly him going forward.
Now it's time to hit the road to Western Illinois. Good luck on the road trip, and then you're back at North Dakota, and then you're finally back home. So we'll see you eventually here back at the Shack.
Halfway point of this road trip, and one day at a time. We've got to take advantage of some things this week to get better, but, pleased with the result, and, more importantly, want to continue to build.
All right, good luck on the road, man. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Brian.
Dave Richman joining us here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. Maren Walseth and the Bison women also hit the road to South Dakota State and Oral Roberts. We'll recap that after this. Welcome back to the Bison Basketball Show from the Sanford Power Center here in Fargo. The North Dakota State women's basketball team faced a tall order this week, taking on rival South Dakota State. The women's last win in Brookings came all the way back in December of 2010.
The Jackrabbits coming in 85-8 overall in Summit League home games, but North Dakota State off to a fast start. Marina Fernandez with the steal and lay-in for the first basket of the game. Later, Tyra Spencer driving to the bucket for the tough finish with the right. That would be Spencer's only basket of the game, as points would be hard to come by throughout the rest of the night. Meanwhile, South Dakota State got on a roll, going on a 22-2 run. Maddie Giebert had 5 3-pointers as the Jacks shot 55% from the field in the first half. Danica Vagley gets the Bison on the board late in the first quarter. She scored 6 points and grabbed 6 rebounds off the bench, but NDSU trailed 43-14 at halftime. Fernandez led the Bison with 9 points as she hits this lay-in, but overall the team just 30% shooting in the contest, and South Dakota State did not slow down. The pass inside ends up in the hands of Peyton Burkhardt for the lay-in. The Jacks had 44 points in the paint and rolled to the 86-33 victory. The Bison also turned it over 22 times. That led to 24 points on the other end. A quick turnaround to Tulsa for a meeting with Oral Roberts on Saturday afternoon. Both teams had trouble finding offense in the opening quarter. Sofia Jovalovic able to knock down the 3 for NDSU. Oral Roberts would take a 5-point lead as Maya Mayberry races down the floor and hits the pull-up jumper. She was 12 of 18 from the floor and scored 32 points. The game would turn into a shootout in the second quarter as both teams lit up the scoreboard. Riley Nudell scored 8 straight for the Bison. She finished with a team-high 22 on 7 of 8 shooting, including 4 of 5 from outside the arc. Michelle Geislerova would hit back-to-back threes as well, as NDSU hit 8 of 11 from three-point range in the opening 20 minutes. Down 2 late in the second quarter, Jovalovic would hit the tough runner to tie the game at 38 heading into the locker room. Geislerova would get the Bison off to a good start in the third quarter, hitting her 4th three. She ended up with 18. But ORU would hit a program record 18 triples, scoring 63 second-half points. Kenny Jo Lippy doing most of the damage, scoring 34 on the afternoon. The Golden Eagles a 36-7 run to put the game away, 101-72 the final. The Bison were just 17 of 31 from the free throw line and were outscored in the paint, 34-16.
Now joined by NDSU women's basketball coach Maren Walseth here at Sanford Power to talk about the Bison's last road trip. And I think going into this, when you knew it was going to be tough, you had the big emotional win at home over North Dakota, and then having to try to get up and play a very talented and motivated South Dakota State team. And I know it was a tough lesson for your kids to learn, Maren, but sometimes you got to go through some of those things too.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. You come from a fantastic win versus UND and just all the emotions that go with this right into a very tough environment at Frost Arena against a South Dakota State team that's probably the best that I've coached against. So we knew it was going to be a dogfight, and we're hoping for a better outcome when they come here.
Well, and I know that's the one thing too is it's one thing to play a really good team on the road. It's another thing to play a really good team on the road that maybe plays its best basketball of the season as well. So I think that's part of it. But going on the road a couple days later, turning the page, getting to Oral Roberts, a game that started off really slow offensively, and then all of a sudden the pace got out of control and just continued throughout the entire game. Take us through that contest a little bit.
We talked about doing things differently on the road, and we play fantastic at home, and then the road presents us challenges, and so we challenged our players to do things differently on the road. And I was so pleased with our first half effort. A tie ball game, 38 points. I thought we shot the ball very well in the first half. We were able to defend and rebound. I was very pleased with the effort. Coming into the third quarter, Oral Roberts, really threw a punch, and it was difficult for us to contain the drive and contain the outside shot. And man, they've got 2 fantastic guards.
Yeah, and they shot the ball ridiculously well in that game. I mean, it's one of those things you can defend, but if a kid's going to step back and hit a 25-footer and do that multiple times, and they hit 18 threes, sometimes it's just not your afternoon, right?
It isn't. And, the step-back threes, those are difficult, but it's the wide-open threes and some of the other ones that I think we can control that is where the basketball game kind of got lopsided.
So now you have this unique situation where you try to throw in a non-conference game, and then you have to get ready for a league game on the road again at Western Illinois, a team that you beat here at home, and then getting ready to go to North Dakota. How do you handle this stretch over the next week?
Well, we're in an interesting position right now, being halfway through conference play, an opportunity to play a non-conference opponent from a rotation perspective, from a play call perspective, just a little bit different before preparing again, like you said, to start the second half of conference play and going to Western Illinois, which is always a good team, but I think we'll have a little bit of confidence going into that game, knowing that we were able to execute a great game plan here at the Shack. And
it's hard to believe we're already at this point now too, Maren, where you're talking about the second half of league play, and what is your group? It seems defensively they've tightened up a few things at times, and maybe when you put it all together, you know, you have a lot of road games down the stretch. That should help.
I think we feel good about ourselves in some aspects, and there's still a lot of learning and growing to be done. And when you're halfway through, there's still plenty of basketball to be played.
All right, Maren, thanks as always for the time. We appreciate it. Good luck on the road this coming weekend.
Thank you.
Maren Walseth joining us here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. After this timeout, we are joined by former Bison guard Freddy Coleman, who runs the Sanford Power Basketball Academy. That's after this. Welcome back to the Sanford Power Center here in Fargo. We are joined by a former Bison guard and coach, Freddy Coleman, who runs the Sanford Power Basketball Academy. And this just started, right, Freddie? Not that long ago. Just this last fall, you came back from Sioux Falls to take this over and get this thing going.
Absolutely, and it's been awesome. It's been great. Obviously, we're in the winter months, so we're in the primest season. But we're doing a lot of youth stuff. We're doing some still doing some things with some high school athletes too in season and get some shots up. So we're staying busy.
And for you played, obviously, then you coached for a while. You coached at Concordia, and then you went to work at North Dakota State for a while. So I'm sure you're still paying attention to what's going on in college hoops. You're still pretty plugged in, right?
I'm a junkie. I'm a junkie. And my wife doesn't like it sometimes, but she lives with it. And it's great. I love it. I love the game. I love the game of basketball, whether it's NBA and college. And I definitely stay involved with NDSU, with, you know, knowing their coaching staff, understanding those guys, and then you know, being involved with those players too, helping recruit some of those players. And then I was actually there when some of those older players have been there as well when they were younger. So yeah, I definitely stay involved.
So talk to me about what the biggest challenge is for taking a program and essentially starting it from scratch when you came here.
Yep.
To try to get more kids involved and trying to get more youth involved and teach, I'm sure, what are some of the basic fundamentals and workouts that you want to have kids develop good habits, right?
Yep. Well, the biggest thing is just getting the word out there, right? And there's different opportunities for kids to engage in basketball. I'm a firm believer that, you know, basketball is the best sport in the world. I love it, and it's what shaped me into the person that I am today. Sports in general, it just doesn't teach you the fundamentals of it. It teaches you, confidence. It teaches you hard work. It teaches you teamwork. It teaches you setting goals and accomplishing them. And I want to instill that in a lot of kids in the area. But the biggest thing is getting that thing out there, and then let it known that it's going to be here for a while, and teaching kids to do things the right way over and over and over again.
For you, as you try to take on a new client, what are some things that you're looking on for a kid that's coming in? Let's say I'm coming in. What are you trying to teach me right away when I got the ball in my hand?
I want to teach you how to shoot the right way. That's the biggest thing, right? Because
Okay.
everybody wants to shoot, and everybody sees Steph Curry and James Harden and LeBron and see all these people shoot 30-footers, right? And kids want to do it. But they're not strong enough yet to get the ball there. They're not holding their follow through. They don't have the proper form to get there yet. So what we do is we start kids in about 3-4 feet out, and then we start working our way back, but telling them and showing them how to shoot the right way.
All right, so if I'm shooting a ball,
Yep.
What am I doing wrong here? What is the biggest thing in terms of form?
So first and foremost, I'm going to take the ball away from you.
Okay.
Right? Because I think this is the thing that gets a lot of people confused. So I always say, first and foremost, you're a lefty, right?
Yep.
Perfect. So I want you to bend your elbow right above your knee, just like that. So you're
Okay.
almost making an L,
Okay.
right? And you're almost holding a pizza, right? So I want your fingers right back, and this is going to be your offhand. So straight up and across, you're going to hold an imaginary basketball.
Okay.
Now, if you were to bend down low, you're in your shot pocket right now. So anytime that you shoot, whether it's off of the dribble, off of the catch, this is your shot pocket. So this is where you're going to be every time before you shoot, right?
Okay.
So if I were to place a ball right there, now you're ready to shoot. All right? So that's the first part of it. That's the foundation of your shot. Now I got 3 different rules. Okay, number 1, when you go into your shot, your elbow has to be locked right above your eye, right? It has to be locked. If you kind of short it and it's not locked, then it's not going to get there, right? You get a full extension.
Okay.
But if it's below your eye, you're going to throw a dart at the front of the rim. You don't want that either, right? So you want to put that elbow right above your eye. Okay. Number 2, you already got it. Boom, hand in the cookie jar, right?
Yep.
Gooseneck, whatever you want to call it, right? That's how you have to have it. But then that offhand has to be straight up and across. And that's where I see a lot of kids when they're shooting and they're not strong enough yet, they push it and their hand goes open, right? Almost like they're waving. And my rule
So
is,
almost
they're shooting it with their chest. They're bench pressing the ball, not actually shooting it, right? So remember, elbow locked, fingers in the rim, your offhand straight up and across. And once again, my rule is with this is you want to be able to clap, not wave.
Gotcha.
That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Awesome. So anytime that you shoot, no matter what, you're going right into your shot pocket into your shot, elbow locked, fingers in the rim, your offhand straight up and across.
And when you're young, you aren't that strong, so it's going to take time to develop that. You have to do that. I'm guessing the repetition of that is the biggest thing. Is you have to do it over and over and over again.
And it sounds so cheesy, but practice makes perfect, right? And it's consistent. Whether you're, an entry-level player and you just started to pick up a basketball, or you're a pro. You watch Steph Curry come out for warm-ups. He's 5 feet away, doing perfects, right? Making sure his elbow locked, his fingers in the rim, and his offhand straight up and across. And then you can start taking steps back and doing it over and over again. But it's the consistency that makes it a habit.
The man right there, Freddy Coleman. That's how you got to learn how to shoot a basketball. Teach your kids early, or better yet, bring them to this guy. Let him show you how to do it. Thanks as always for the time. Good to see you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Freddie Coleman joining us here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. We're back to wrap things up from here at Sanford Power Center after this.
The Bison Basketball Show on Midco Sports Network is presented by NODAC Insurance Company and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Back to wrap up this week's episode of the Bison Basketball Show from the Sanford Power Center in Fargo. As we take a look ahead at the upcoming schedule, the Bison men only one game this coming week. The team back in action on Saturday night at Western Illinois for a 7 p.m. tip-off against the Leathernecks. The NDSU women are also in Macomb this week for one conference matchup against the Leathernecks on Sunday afternoon before taking on North Dakota next Wednesday night on the road. That'll do it from here in South Fargo. We'll see you next week back in studio. Have a good one, everybody.